Hi there. My name is Professor Joel Krantz, and I'm going to be going through the submission process for submitting an online film portfolio for consideration for admission into our film option program. I'm going to go through pretty much everything from beginning to end. You can certainly fast forward through this video if there's things that are obvious, but I'm going to go through the very beginning from logging in to creating an account and then going through and uploading and submitting all the materials that we require. Just for the sake of honesty, all the information I'm going to be submitting are fictitious names and files, so these aren't real files or anything like that, but just to go through the process. You'll see how this works, even though the files aren't real, or I'm obviously not a real student, but I'm going to pretend that I'm a student just for this process. Okay, so when you get to the landing page, you can see the deadline is October 11th, 2020. There's a lot of disclaimer and kind of rules and things we lay out here. I'm not going to read all this to you. You should definitely go through this and make sure you're aware of all this, especially things like you're going to need about $1,800 if you're admitted into the program for film production, your intermediate and your advanced film classes. There's some prereq classes that you have to have completed or at least have in progress, and I'll talk about those more when we get to the film portfolio. And there's also, if there's special circumstances, you might have emailed the option head, Professor Nate Thomas, or even myself, Professor Joel Krantz, or even Professor Carpenter or Hogan. So if there's any kind of special circumstances, there's a place in the portfolio you'll see you can upload files or email communications and things like that. We also mentioned that once you're accepted in the program, you can't take any breaks from the program. The one exception to that is during this COVID-19 crisis we're going through right now. We are allowing students to take a semester or two off, but normally you wouldn't be allowed to if there was no COVID-19 pandemic. The other thing too is the deadline for submitting is the end of the day on Sunday, October 11th. And these are different files. You're going to need your degree progress report, which is basically your transcript. You're going to need a one-page essay, which I'll describe when we get to the portfolio more, and then also a photo story, and there's some short answer questions you'll have to answer. And you don't have to complete this whole application all in one sitting. You can save it as a draft, come back and make changes and think about it, and we recommend you do that. Don't try and do this in the last hour or two before the deadline. You should really think carefully about your portfolio, really plan out what you're going to do. Make sure you're using the best grammar, spelling, wording you can use, because all that will reflect on you when the portfolio is reviewed by our committee. Okay. If you have any questions, by the way, you can always email me this bottom, my email address, joel.krantz@csun.edu. If the submission system's not working or there's some question, you can feel free to reach out to me. Okay. Now, at the very bottom here, you have two options. If you had a submittable account before, and that might be for submitting CTVA scholarships, or maybe you submitted a portfolio, this is your second time, you could click on this, have an account, and sign in already. Or if you've never done this before, you can create a brand new submittable account. If you click on this, you'll be able to create a new account. One thing we recommend, if you create a new submittable account, when you do this, use your CSUN email address, but do not use the same password that you use to log into your CSUN portal. Use a completely different password, because CSUN's concerned there could be a security problem. If someone were to breach this website, they might get into your other account and access your transcripts, grades, things like that. So we ask you to use a completely different password than you use on the CSUN portal if you use this way of creating a new account. Or if you want, if I click on this sign-in tab, you can also log in with your Facebook login or a Google login if you prefer to do that. So you can create a brand new account if you want, or you can sign in with your Facebook, Google, or if you have an existing submittable account, that's what this orange button is. You can sign in with that orange button and do that. Okay, but I'm going to create a brand new account here. So I'll type in my email address, joel.krantz.643@my.csun.edu. By the way, this is the fictitious email. I'm just using it for this example. Then for my password, I'm going to create a password here. And of course, it asks you to confirm that. So you can put that in second time. And then you can put your name in here too if you want. I'd recommend using your full regular name in here. Sorry, I have to put that in the last name field. There we go. Okay, and then hit sign up. And then you're basically in. So after you do that, if you're on your own computer, you can save that password. Of course, remember that. And there's some other options here. You can just hit continue and skip all those things. Now, when you get into the actual portfolio, now you have all the instructions again that I just showed you at the front of the portfolio. So I'm going to skip those right now, and let's get to the actual portfolio itself. So a lot of this stuff is obvious. You're going to put in your name. You're going to put in your CSUN ID. I'm, of course, putting a fictitious one in, but you're going to put in your real CSUN ID, then your CSUN email address. And we ask that you don't use another email. Use your CSUN email address because that's the primary one that we like to use. So I'm going to put in joel.krantz.643@my.csun.edu. Then current mailing address. So we're not really going to mail you anything, but we just like to have that on file just in case. So I have, again, fake mailing address here. I'm just going to put in, you're of course not going to put a fake one in, but I'll put in my mailing address, country. We prefer a United States email address, so even though it has all these other countries in here, just put a local, mailing address, not email address. Put in a local mailing address there. I'm just going to put in Los Angeles. State, of course, is California. Let's say my zip code is 90003. And then your cell phone number, that's important because sometimes if we can't get a hold of you through email, we don't hear from you, we might want to contact your cell phones. I'll just put in cell phone. Again, I'm just putting in a fake number, but of course you're going to put in your real number here. Cell phone. I'm putting in my major here. It's asking, what is my major? Most of you are probably going to be film production provisional, but you might have another major, whatever that is. So put that down, or if it's another CTVA major, or if it's not a major in CTVA, just put other there, but I'll leave mine on film provisional. Then we ask how many times you're applying to portfolio. This is my first time. You're allowed to apply up to 2 times if you were admitted to CSUN before July 1st, 2020. If you're admitted to CSUN after that date, after July 1st, 2020, then you're only allowed to apply 1 time. That was a rule change we had, okay? Then one thing that's new in the portfolio, we added a new skill area, producing. So you pick your primary skill area that you want to do. Let's say in this example, I'm going to choose editing as my primary, and then maybe as my secondary, like an alternate. So if you don't get chosen for your primary, that you might get chosen for a second one, like producing. One thing I will warn you though, we expect cinematography and producing to be the most popular options. So be aware, I'm not trying to dissuade you from choosing that option, but if you do choose cinematography or producing, those are the most competitive ones to get into. So just be aware of that. The other option you have for your second skill area, if you don't want to, let's say I really want to be an editor, if I don't get accepted for editing, I don't want to consider any other choices, then you could choose this option. I do not wish to be considered for any skill areas other than my primary, which I chose up here as editing or cinematography, whatever you want to make it. Okay. Then in here, we ask you if I am not accepted in the film production option, what would be my second choice option? What would I change my major to? So after you get turned down once or twice, if you're admitted before July 1st, you could say, well, maybe I want to be like emerging media. That's like VR, AR, 360 video. That might be a cool option to do, so you could choose that one. And then we ask you your class based on the number of units completed. And most of you are probably going to be either sophomores or juniors. So I'm going to choose junior. And if you can't tell, if you look at your degree progress report, if you have between 60 and 90 units, you're a junior. If you have 30 to 60, you're a sophomore. Most of you are not going to be freshmen, I would guess, but choose whatever option is most appropriate there. Then if you're a transfer student, meaning you took classes elsewhere before you came to CSUN, you can say yes or no. I'm going to say no there for that one. If you did answer yes, though, you would put the schools in here. We give you some examples like Pasadena City College, LA Valley College, Santa Monica College, whatever. Just put the schools in there. But I'm not going to have to put anything there since I didn't choose that as an option to be a transfer student. Then how many general elective units do you have? Now, if you don't know about what this is or exactly how to figure that out, just take a guess how many of the GE, like the science, English, sociology, those kinds of courses you have left to do, things outside of your major, which you want to be film, of course. So let's say in my example here, I'm going to put 15 units in. Try to be as accurate as you can. We're going to check these, but if you get it wrong, we're not going to eliminate you because some people just are confused by this question. But if you have any idea, consult your DPR and you can see how many units you have left to complete, not counting the courses that are in progress that you're taking this semester. Okay. Then I mentioned earlier, we have basically 5 required courses you have to have completed or be in progress with this semester that you submit your portfolio. So you basically check off here, which one of these have you completed? And hopefully you will be able to check all of these, because if you don't, that's going to eliminate you from consideration right away. I'm not saying you should lie. If you didn't complete all these, or they're not at least in progress this semester, we can't consider your portfolio, and we will check. So don't feel like, oh, I could lie and I'll probably get by. We'll find out. We do have to check all the people that apply, especially the ones that are accepted. Then from all the courses that are listed, we want you to actually put in there, what grades you got in this area. So as an example, to make it easier so I don't have to spend a lot of time typing, I'm just going to copy this from a Word document that I have. I'll just paste it in here. And it's okay if it goes across. It doesn't have to go vertically like it shows in the example here. As an example, like I took Art 250 at Pasadena City College, what semester you took it and then what your grade was. And then, CTVA 100, what school did you take it at? And then what your grade was. If you took it at CSUN, you'll just put CSUN in there. And you can abbreviate it like it shows in the example here. And again, we will check this. So again, don't just make up anything. You have to make sure you put down the right semesters and the right, schools you took them out if you didn't take them at CSUN and what your grade is. So you can put that in there. Then we have a sort of a special section. If there's any special cases, or maybe you were corresponding with Professor Thomas or myself or someone else on the film faculty, you can upload a PDF copy of any of your email correspondences. We can take up the 5 files here. Just click this choose file button, and then it'll bring you to a dialog box. By the way, I'm on a Mac using the Google Chrome web browser, but you can use any web browser, Safari, Firefox, Chrome. Even on Windows, you can use Edge. That's their web browser now on Windows. So pretty much any web browser you want to use, you could use. It would probably work. We haven't had any problems or reports that certain web browsers don't work. But I'm using Chrome, which is fine. If there's any other special circumstances you want us to know about, you could write something and send that to us. And then this is where we want a copy of your degree progress report. If you don't know how to get your degree progress report, there's a link down here and it tells you how to access and find it. So just follow that link. But I have a degree progress report already ready to go here. Let me show you an example. Here it is right here in this folder. If I open it up, and I have the name blacked out because this isn't technically my DPR, so you're not going to see that. But it'll look something like this. And you'll see all the courses completed. And this is where we're going to look, especially in this film area here, to make sure, okay, Art 250 was completed, 210, 220, 100. Notice it's saying in this example that CTVA 250 has not been completed. So technically, until this course is completed, you wouldn't be able to submit unless it was in progress, which it's not on this particular DPR. But so that would be one way you would get eliminated. But let's say all these were completed or in progress. You'd see an IP next to it, then you're fine. But let's pretend this DPR is fine and we're going to accept that. But again, if you haven't completed these courses, there's no point in completing the portfolio because you will be eliminated from consideration no matter how amazing your portfolio was otherwise. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'll say, okay, I have to attach my DPR. I'll just hit this choose button, opens up this window. Then I'm going out to my desktop here. I have a folder that I already have prepared. You might do something like this where it says film, film portfolio. That's what I got to find. Yeah, there it is right here. And there's my DPR. I just select it, hit open. And depending on the speed of your internet connection, it should upload pretty fast. It's not a big file there. And there's my DPR there. If you want to even check it, I think you can. No, maybe you can't check it as a student. I thought maybe you could. But there's my file. You might want to check it before you upload it. If that was the wrong file, I could hit this little trash can icon, delete it. I notice it's telling me you have to upload a file, so it won't let you submit this portfolio without it. So I could go here and say choose file. Go back if I had a newer version of your DPR. Also, try and generate something that's fairly new. Like, don't give us a DPR from 6 months or a year ago. Make it be something you've generated within the last several weeks or something like that, so we have something new. I'll just upload that again, and there's my DPR in there. Now, if you're a transfer student too, we say if you have other official transcripts, that's why you can upload up to 3 more files here. If you have transcripts from, say, other colleges, you're a transfer student, you could do that. But I don't need to do that in this case. In my example. And then you can upload any unofficial transcripts here if you had to do that from other schools. All right, then getting into the other section of the portfolio, now we have a series of 10 short answer questions. And the short answer questions are pretty basic things. We want to find out about you, what kind of person, how you think, how well you write, things that influence you, how intelligent, how thoughtful, insightful your answers are. And you're going to type directly in here, although what some students might do is do it in Microsoft Word or some other word processor first and then copy it in here. Well, I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to just type in here, this is my short answer text. Here it is. Okay, now you're of course not going to type this. You'll type the answer. It's asked you a character in a film. If you're a character in a film, how would you, the first scene, introduce you that would encapsulate you as a person? So in other words, it would basically give us an idea of what kind of person you are. So are you funny? Are you flamboyant? Are you shy? Whatever you're going to show that character, that basically is going to encapsulate you. So you'll type that text in here. You can use up to 7 sentences. By the way, we are looking at grammar, spelling, sentence structure, things like that. So try and do the best job you can. I'm purposely not typing in an answer because I don't want to give anybody ideas. You can just be very honest and type in whatever you think would be the best way to introduce yourself as a person to us. Then same thing in number 2. In literature, name your favorite writer or book and then write a few sentences. You'll put that in there. And again, one thing we like to see is that students that are well-read and have a variety of different things they're interested in, we generally don't like to see books on a regular like high school reading list. Like let's say Moby Dick, Catcher in the Rye, Romeo and Juliet. Those are all great books and there's nothing wrong with them, but those don't really show us that you're really reading beyond what's required in a high school or maybe a freshman English class. So try to come up with something a little bit beyond that, and also maybe not comic books or pop culture type things like that, like even Hunger Games. Again, not a bad book, but we're looking to see something a little bit more beyond just standard pop fiction, okay, or popular fictional writers. So you can put something in there. Then the area of fine arts, name your favorite artist. Now when we say artist too, we're being pretty generic. It could be a musician, composer, it could be a painter, sculptor, it could be even a writer, poet, something like that. So this art term is very general in here. So it could be any kind of artist you want to put. Again, we're kind of hoping you're not going to put the real popular ones, Leonardo da Vinci, people like that. Try to maybe go a little bit beyond just something you might learn about in an art survey class. But again, it could be a musician, composer, anybody that's an artist, maybe even something that's different if they're doing, who knows, stained glass windows, or they do pottery or other kinds of, just any kind of artist that you really respect, photographers or other ones you could choose, okay? Then you'll put your text in here. By the way, if you don't want to finish this, you want to just save and come back, there's a button at the very bottom here. It says Save Draft. You can just hit that button. And that's a good idea to hit that every once in a while too, in case your internet connection gets interrupted, the power goes off, or your computer crashes, you won't lose everything you've done. So maybe hit that Save as Draft every once in a while, and then you're going to hit Submit when you're finally done. But I'm not close to done yet here with this. So anyway, going back to these short answer questions, on number 4, we're asking you, what is the most important historical event to you? Be sure to explain. And we mean like a historical event that other people would know about. So we're not talking about your grandfather's birthday or something like that. We want something that's more other people in the world would know about. And something, there's no right answer, one right answer. It's whatever is important to you, So whatever you want to put down there. Then number 5, choose one film and describe how the visual imagery and the sound both work well together collaboratively to tell the story. And we want you here to make sure you list the name of the film. We don't need to have the director or the actors in the film, but certainly list the name of the film and then, describe why you chose that, why you think the visual imagery and the sound work well together. And again, you have up to 7 sentences to answer all these. You don't have to use 7 sentences, but generally I find if you just use 1 or 2 sentences, that's probably not enough. So probably 3 sentences minimum, but maybe you're a better writer than I am, I don't know. But generally, usually need to do about 3 sentences or more, to answer these questions completely. Okay, then number 6, describe one of the most important attributes and qualities of a film that distinguishes a really great film from an average to mediocre film. So again, we just want to know what you think are the kind of the characteristics and things that make films, one film better than another, or one film even a box office kind of dud versus one that's a huge success. What is it that makes these really great films? What kinds of ingredients go into that? You can list that in there, okay? By the way, these little red asterisks mean you have to answer. If you leave this completely blank, it won't let you submit your portfolio, just so you don't forget a question. So that's why we have those little red asterisks there. Then number 7, these are more situational kind of things where we ask you, your best friend wants you to DP, be the director of photography on a film, and you don't think they're the best candidate. What would you do? How would you handle that situation? So we want to know, how would you resolve that kind of tricky situation? Number 8 here, we're saying this one, you're the producer on a film and one of the group members is argumentative, threatening to some in the group and difficult, but the group needs this person's financial contribution to the film. How would you handle that? So answering that question, whatever you think would work for that. This is a new question we just put in the portfolio this year, was never in here before. Achieving a successful career as a filmmaker, whether as a crew member, screenwriter, or director, is difficult. Understanding why you want to become a filmmaker is an important aspect to succeeding in the industry. The why will inform your decisions on who you work with or who you work for, how you make the work, and your sense of yourself as an artist or storyteller. And we ask you, please let us know, well, why did you choose to become a filmmaker? Because knowing that it's not easy, and it's not, why do you want to have a career or learn about filmmaking? What is it about it that is attracting you? So that's kind of what we're asking in that question there. Then number 10, what primary skill area did you choose? So among those skill areas at the top where you had cinematography, picture editing, sound, or producing, whatever one you chose there, tell us why you chose that, why you think you're a good fit for that, what your strengths are that make you a great candidate for that. So you can describe that there. Okay, then going on to this next section, that's the end of the short answer questions. We ask you in the essay section to write and upload a one-page essay in either Microsoft Word or PDF format, describing a singular personal experience that formed who you are as a person today. So something that had a large impact on you. People sometimes write about a family member or a friend that had a big influence on them. It could be almost anything or just some experience. Some students that came here from other countries might talk about immigrating to the US and that experience. So whatever you want to talk about, I'm not trying to tell you what to write about, but try to write something, real, not made up. It should be a real experience that really had a profound impact on who you were. One thing we don't like to see in these stories, I will tell you, is, when I was in high school, my uncle got me a video camera and I knew from that day on I wanted to be a filmmaker. That's not really going to be a strong essay. We're looking for something a little more deep than that, a little more personalized than just saying, I got a video camera, now I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. So something that really had a profound, had that not happened to you, maybe you'd be a completely different person today. That experience or that person's influence, whatever it happens to be. By the way, the photo story, which I'm going to get to in a second, the short answer questions are there's 10 of them and there's 3 points each. So that makes basically 30 points and is a 100-point portfolio. The essay is another 30 points and the photo story is another 30. So it's 90 points total between the short answer, the essay, and the photo story. So each of them count equally. Sometimes students think one is more important or weighed more heavily than the other, but no, they're exactly equal. And you're wondering, what about the other 10 points? That's your transcript. We give it a point score based on your GPA and your transcript, and you can't do much about that one. So that's why your transcript is what it is, but the ones you can spend time on and make better are your short answers, your essays, and your photo stories. And the essay, you can have a file you'll upload. We want, again, Word or PDF. In my folder here, I already have one, so I'll just hit Choose File here. I'll go to my essay, which is this one here. It's a PDF file. Just hit Open, and it'll upload that file. Again, it's going to be a pretty small file generally. Then you'll have your essay story. Again, if you want to change it, you realize you made a mistake, or you want to fix a spelling error, you can always delete it. Go back. Again, it's going to warn you have to upload something. You always go back after you fix it and upload it again. I recommend that you write these stories in Microsoft Word or some kind of word processor where you can take advantage of spell checking, grammar checking, things like that. Because again, we do look at not just the story, but also spelling and how well you express yourself, punctuation, things like that. So don't overlook those things. Check all those things. We also mentioned here too, it has to be about 1 page long. If it's one sentence longer, that's fine. Running on to the next page, about 1 page, let's say. And then also, we always get questions about line spacing, what font to use. And I finally put in here, okay, we don't care. You choose double spacing, single spacing. We don't really care. Font size, we don't care about that either. Just make it something that we can read fairly easily. All right, and that's the essay section about that personal experience that formed who you are as a person. Then the last section here, which is again 30 points, is the photo story, where we ask you to create a story containing a character with a moral dilemma or problem and a resolution to the dilemma or problem that demonstrates the power of your visual storytelling. So up to 12 photos you're going to upload here. It doesn't have to be 12. It could be 8 or 9 or 10, 11, whatever the number happens to be, but 12 is the maximum. And we ask you to, I always get questions about what photo size, some kind of standard photo size, like 5x7 is pretty standard, as long as they're somewhat of a uniform size, because if you have a bunch of photos you upload and each one's a completely different size, it's harder for us to read those in our photo viewer in the software to display that. So come up with kind of a uniform standard size. I recommend 5x7, but it doesn't have to be. If yours is a different size, 5x8 or 5x10, whatever the standard sizes are, you can use those. It doesn't matter. But we do ask you, this is really important, to number all your files with your last name and then an underscore and a double-digit number on those. So example, I'll show you in my folder here. I have these photos ready to go to upload. In my photo story folder here, you can see I have this Krantz, my last name, then underscore 01, JPEG 02, and make sure these are numbered correctly. So this is the first photo in your story, the second one and third one, because if they're not numbered correctly, if we had this happen in the past, then they may not display in the right order and your story may not make any sense to whoever's reviewing it. So make sure your photos are numbered correctly and in the right order. You can check it before you upload them, or you'll see when they upload, you'll see what they look like in Submittable. I'll show you that when I get done with that. Okay, so if I want to choose these files to upload now and I have these all ready. Oh, by the way, too, they don't have to be amazingly, like, we don't need a really super high 24K image. It doesn't have to be that high an image. But we do recommend you use somewhat of a professional camera other than just a smartphone. But if a smartphone's all you have, that's fine. But if you have like a DSLR or something like that, that would probably be better. We also don't care if the photos are black and white or color. That's your choice. You can also do any kind of treatment to the photos. You want to bring them in the Photoshop and change the white balance or change anything you want, even do a photo effect or something, like a blur effect or something. You can do all that if you want to. It's not required, but you can do any of that stuff. We're looking for photo stories that are cinematic, that tell a story. We're looking for things like interesting lighting, camera angles, shot composition. We're looking at what's in the shot, art. You might have like maybe a picture or something on the wall, or any kind of stuff, costuming, makeup, even hair. All that stuff has something to do with it. So we're looking to be something cinematic that looks like it's a film or shot from a film. The photo stories are just shot in your, let's say, apartment with just standard lighting in there. Don't really impress us that much. We're looking for something that shows more work where maybe you had to do some special lighting or find an interesting location to shoot it at, you know, things like that. I know with COVID, you're limited with what you can do and maybe how many actors, but you could shoot this story with just one person. So it could be pretty good and safe with just using yourself as the, say, the photographer, than one other person as your subject. We also ask you use live human subjects. We don't want dolls, stick figures, pencil drawings, things like that. So make sure you can have all those things. If you want to have a doll or something in your photos, you can, but they can't be the primary subject. It has to be maybe supplementary to the main characters there. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Then when you have these photos and they're ready to upload, I can just click this. I'll go to my photo folder here and I can select all these at once. I don't have to upload them one at a time. I can select all these 1 through 12 here I have, hit open, and now they're going to upload into the photo. And depending on, again, your internet speed, this may take a little while. You might need to walk away from the computer for a few minutes while they're uploading. Again, too, the photos don't have to be huge in terms of file size. We tell you no larger than 5 gigs, and even that is way over what you need. Like my photos, you want to look at the size of my photos, they're 7, 12, 14 megabytes. None of them are even a gig. But we say you have up to a 5 gig file size, but they don't have to be large files. You know, they can be small files like this, but don't make them super compressed, because we are looking for the photos are clear and not have any kind of pixelation to them or things like that. So hopefully you can upload, you know, clear photos that have a decent look to them. You can see my photos are still uploading here. Guess my internet connection isn't the fastest here at home. This is something, like I said, you might just walk away, take a little break while these files are uploading. And by the way, don't worry about, remember I said the number, you have to number them in order. It shows like JPEG 5 file here, then 3, then 1. That's just the upload order. They will display in the proper order because it's based on the file name. So you don't have to worry about that. And it looks like a lot of these are uploaded. It says successfully uploading. Just a couple more and I think we'll be done here. You have a few at the bottom here to get done, and then we'll be good. But again, if you have a faster connection somewhere, if you have even a friend's house or a relative you could go to upload, if your internet's not that fast for uploading, it might be easier, because otherwise you might be waiting a while, even though, again, these are not gigantic files. While those are uploading too, I'll just scroll down here, because another thing you're going to do then is we ask you to put in a plot, a photo story plot, almost like a log line, just a short mention of what your story is about. Ideally, when we look at this photo story, we should be able to tell what your story is about and what's happening without even looking at your plot summary. But sometimes I've had photo stories where, frankly, they just don't make sense. And I'm thinking, what is this supposed to be about? I have no idea, and I have to read the plot summary. If I have to do that, or one of the reviewers has to read the plot summary in order to understand your story, that's usually not a good sign. You can make this fairly short. It doesn't have to be a long summary. It could be a few sentences, a couple paragraphs, whatever you want to make it, just so it's clear what the story is. Again, we can look at that if we want to, and then check and make sure that the story makes sense to us. But again, hopefully we won't have to look at that. And now you can see my photos are uploaded, and they are showing in order here, Krantz 01, 02, 03, and so on. So you might want to make sure that these are in the right order. Just one last time. If they're not, you can always delete this little trash can icon and re-upload if you need to do that. Now I'm going to go here and do save as draft again because I do not want to have to re-upload those again. So you might want to just hit that save as draft button. It might have done that automatically for me there. I'm not sure if it did, but just in case, you might want to hit that save as draft button. And for my plot summary here, I'm just going to put in some text. This is my plot summary, but of course you're going to put something else in here, whatever it's going to be. So it can be a couple paragraphs maximum, whatever you're going to put in there for that. Then the last thing, so after you verified that all your stuff is in here, I have my photos are all in here, my essay is uploaded. Notice my short answer questions, I stopped putting text in at number 3 here. So the problem's going to be if I try to submit this right now, just to show you, see what it says, there's an issue submitting your form, please fix any errors. And it's telling me that I didn't do these questions. You can see all the red there. So it's going to force you to put something in there before it's going to let me submit. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy and paste this text. It just says this is my short answer question, just so I have some text in all of these. But you, of course, won't do this. You'll put your real answers in here. But just so the system sees text in there, it looks like it sees text for all those there. I have everything uploaded there. Now, be aware that once you hit the submit button, there's no taking this back and making changes. So if you want to think about this, you might want to just hit save as draft, and you can save it. Then I could maybe log out, come back tomorrow, or even a couple days from now, assuming the deadline isn't passed, and I can still make changes there. So just be aware, once you hit submit, I mean, I guess if you hit it by accident, I can go in if you email me and manually unlock yours again so you can make changes. But don't do that. Just keep saving as draft until you're ready to submit, because the final submit means that's it, you're done, and you're not going to make any more changes to your portfolio. Now, the one last thing we do require, it says I agree with the terms of use here. You have to check this little box. If I check that, if you want to see what the terms of use are, these are basically our basic guidelines. We tell students that there's no leaves of absences once you get into the program. Again, except for this COVID-19 thing, it's a 4-semester sequence you're expected to go through with all the students in your cohort. You have a financial obligation of about $300 for the 355 class, another $1,500 for the senior projects class, $1,800 total, just to be aware of that. You must at all times adhere to the safety regulations, requirements, because of course we don't want anybody to get hurt or worse, killed. Then of course you have to adhere to the CSUN code of conduct. That's a basic thing. You can see what that is at this web address. And then of course it says failure to follow or agree to all these guidelines or grounds for removal from the film option. So even if you agree to this right now, I'll hit agree. If I break any of those rules, I could be kicked out of the film option at a later time there, because we take all these things very seriously. So you have to agree to that terms of use thing. That's a new thing we added to the portfolio here, just so everybody's clear on everything's expected, okay? And I can still do save as draft if I want. Let's say I've gone through this, everything is fine, I'm happy with everything that I've done here, all my answers. Then you can finally submit. And be aware, we had a problem with this too. You have to submit in order for us to see your portfolio. We had one student where the deadline passed, he just had done save as draft, and we never got to see his portfolio. So hitting submit basically tells the system you're done making changes and edits or uploading files, and you're ready for the portfolio committee to review your final portfolio. So if you just do save as draft and never ever hit submit, we'll never see your portfolio. So just make sure you do hit that submit button, okay? So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna hit the submit button right now. Everything is complete in my portfolio, or at least my fictitious portfolio. And then once you submit there, you'll get this message saying success. And then you can, in 5 seconds, get redirected to just our standard Department of CTVA website, directed back there again. So hopefully that was clear for you and it answered all the questions. Again, you can rewind, go back. If there's things that I didn't cover, you think I should have covered or something, please feel free to ask me. You could email or even put it, I think there's comments in this YouTube video, you can put it there, okay? But hopefully that's answered all the questions you had. And if you have any questions, again, you can feel free to reach out to me, email me. Goodbye then. Nice talking to you.